We are back. Part 5, Chapter 2, middle of page 75. Let's get going. The next 4 or 5 days were the longest I've ever spent in my life. We killed time reading Gone with the Wind and playing poker. Johnny sure did like that book, although he didn't know anything about the Civil War and even less about plantations. And I had to explain a lot of it to him. It amazed me how Johnny could get more meaning from something out of the stuff in there than I could. I was supposed to be the deep one. Johnny had failed a year in school, never made good grades. He couldn't grasp anything that was shoved at him too fast, and I guess his teachers thought he was just plain dumb, but he wasn't. He was just a little slow to get things. He liked to explore them once he did get them. He was especially stuck on Southern gentlemen, impressed with their manners and charm. "I bet they're cool old guys," he said, his eyes glowing, after I read the part about them riding in assured death because they were gallant. "They kind of remind me of Dally." "Huh, Dally?" I said, startled. "Shoot, he ain't got no more manners than I do. You saw how he treated those girls the other night. So does more like them Southern boys." "Yeah, and the manners bit and the charm too, I guess," Johnny said slowly. "But one night I saw Dillon getting picked up by the fuzz. He kept real cool and calm the whole time. They was getting him for breaking out of the windows of the school building. It was two men who did that. Dowie knew it. He just took the sentence without batting an eye or even denying it. Now that's gallant." That was the first time I realized the extent of Johnny's hero worship of Dallas Winston. Of all of us, Dally was the one I liked the least. He didn't have Soda's understanding or dash or Two-Bit's humor or even Derry's superhuman qualities. But I realized these three appealed to me because they were like the heroes in the novels I read. Dally was real. I liked my books and clouds and sunsets. Dally was so real, he scared me. Johnny and I never went out to the front of the church. You could see it from along the road, and sometimes the farm kids rode by on their horses all the way to their store. So we stayed in the very back, usually sitting on the steps and looking across the valley. We could see for miles, see the ribbon of highway and the small dots of our houses and cars. We couldn't look at the sunset since the back faced east, but I looked at all the colors of the fields and the soft shadings of the horizon. One morning I woke up earlier than usual. John and I had slept huddled together for warmth. Dally had been right when he said it would get cold where we were going. Being careful not to wake up, I went to sit in the steps and smoke a cigarette. The dawn was coming then. All the lower valley was covered with mist, and sometimes little pieces of it broke off and floated away in small clouds. The sky was lighter in the east, and the horizon was a thin, golden line. The clouds changed from gray to pink, and there was a silent moment when everything held its breath, and then the sun rose. It was beautiful. "Golly," Johnny's voice beside me made me jump. "That sure was pretty." "Yeah," I sighed, wishing I had some paint to do a picture with the sight still fresh in my mind. "The mist is what was pretty," Johnny said. "All gold and silver?" "Mm-hmm," I said, trying to blow a smoke ring. "Too bad it couldn't stay like that all the time." "Well, nothing gold can stay. I always remember a poem I read once." "What?" "Nature's first green is gold, her heart is hued to hold. Her early leaves a flower, but only so an hour. Then leaf subsides to leaf, so Eden sank to grief. So dawn goes down today, nothing gold can stay." Johnny was staring at me. "Now where'd you learn that? That's what I meant." "Robert Frost wrote it. He meant more to it than I'm getting, though." I was trying to find the meaning the poet had in mind, but it eluded me. I always remembered it because I never quite got what he meant by it. "You know," Johnny said slowly, "I never noticed colors and clouds and stuff until you kept reminding me about them. Seems like they were never there before." He thought for a minute. "Your family sure is funny." "What happens to be so funny about it?" I asked stiffly. Johnny looked at me quickly. "Well, I didn't mean nothing. I mean, well, someone kind of looks like your mother did. He acts exactly like your father. And Derry's a spitting image of your father, but he ain't wild and laughing all the time like he was. He acts like your mother. And you don't act like either one." "I know," I said. Well, I said, thinking this over, you ain't like any of the gang either. I mean, I couldn't tell Two-Bit or Steve or even Derry about the sunrise and clouds and stuff. I couldn't even remember that poem around them. I mean, they just don't dig. Just you and Soda Pop. Maybe Cherry Valance. Johnny shrugged. Yeah, he said with a sigh. I guess we're different. Shoot, I said, blowing a perfect smoke ring. Maybe they are. By the fifth day, I was so tired of bologna I nearly got sick every time I looked at it. We had eaten all our candy bars in the first 2 days. I was dying for a Pepsi. I'm what you might call a Pepsi addict. I drink them like a fiend, and going 5 days without one was about to kill me. Johnny promised to get me some if we ran out of supplies and had to get some more, but that didn't help me right then. I was smoking a lot more than I usually did. I guess because it was something to do, although Johnny warned me that I would get sick smoking so much. We were careful with our cigarettes. If that old church ever caught fire, there'd be no stopping it. On the fifth day, we had read up the Sherman Siege of Atlanta and Gone with the Wind. Old Johnny, $150 from poker games, smoked 2 packs of Camels, and as Johnny had predicted, got sick. I hadn't eaten anything all day, and smoking on an empty stomach doesn't make you feel so great. I curled up in a corner to sleep off the smoke and was just about asleep when I heard, as if from a great distance, a low whistle that went off on a sudden high note. I was too sleepy to pay attention, although Johnny didn't have any reason to be whistling like that. He was sitting on the back steps trying to read Gone with the Wind. I'd almost decided that I dreamt the whole outside world was nothing real but bologna sandwiches and the Civil War and the old church in the mist in the valley. It seemed to me I'd always lived in the church, or maybe lived during the Civil War and somehow got transplanted. That shows you what a wild imagination I have. A toe nudged me in the ribs. Glory, said a rough but familiar voice. He looks different with his hair like that. I rolled up and sat up, rubbing the sleep out of my eyes and yawning. Suddenly, I blinked. Hey, Dally! Hey, pony boy, he grinned down at me. Or should I say Sleeping Beauty? Hey, pony boy, he grinned down at me. Or should I say Sleeping Beauty? I never thought I'd live to the day when I'd be glad to see Dally Winston, but right then he meant one thing, contact with the outside world. And it suddenly became real and vital. Hi, Soda Pop, are the fuss after us? Is Jerry all right? Did the boys know we are? What? Hold on there, kid, Dally broke in. I can't answer everything at once. You two want to go get something to eat first? I skipped breakfast and I'm about starved. You're starved? Johnny was so indignant he nearly squeaked. I remember the baloney. Is it safe to get out? I asked eagerly. Yup. Dally searched his shirt pocket for a cigarette. And finding none, he said, Got a case of stick, Johnny Cake? Johnny tossed him a whole package. Yeah, the fuzz won't be looking for you around here, Dally said, lighting up. They think you lit out for Texas. I've got Buck's T-Bird parked down the road a little bit. Gosh almighty, boys, ain't you been eating anything? Johnny looked startled. Yeah, whatever they gave me the idea we ain't. Dally shook his head. Well, you're both pale. You look like you've lost weight. Dally shook his head. Well, you're both pale and you've lost weight. After this, get out in the sun more. You look like you've been through the mill. I started to say, look who's talking, but decided it would be safer not to. Dally needed a shave, a stubble of colorless beard covered his jaw, and he looked like he was the one who'd been sleeping in his clothes for a week instead of us. I knew he hadn't seen a barber in months, but it was safer not to get mouthy with Dally Winston. Hey, pony boy. He fumbled with a piece of paper in his back pocket. Got a letter for you. A letter? From whom? The president, of course, stupid. That's from Soda. Soda Pop? I said, bewildered. But how'd he know? He came over to Buck's a couple days ago for something, found that sweatshirt. I told him I didn't know where you were, but he didn't believe me. He gave me this letter and half his paycheck to give you. Kid, you ought to see Derry. He's taking this mighty hard. I wasn't listening. I leaned back against the side of the church and read. Pony boy. Well, I guess you got in some trouble there, didn't you? Derry and me nearly went nuts when you ran out like that. Derry's awful sorry he hit you. You know he didn't mean it. And then you and Johnny turned up missing with that dead kid in the park and Dally getting hauled into the station. Well, it scared us something awful. The police came by to question us, and we told much as we could. I can't believe little old Johnny could kill somebody. I know Dally knows where you are, but you know him. He keeps his trap shut and won't tell me nothing. Derry hasn't got the slightest notion where you're at. It's nearly killing him. I wish you'd come back and turn yourselves in, but I guess you can't, since Johnny might get hurt. You sure are famous. Got a paragraph in the newspaper even. Take care. Say hi to Johnny for us. So did Pop Curtis. He could improve his spelling, I thought, after reading it 3 or 4 times. How come you got hauled in? I asked Dally. Shoot, kid, he grinned wolfishly. Them boys at the station know me by now. I get hauled in for everything that happens on our turf. While I was there, I kind of let it out to slip that you were all heading for Texas. So that's where they're looking. He took a drag on his cigarette, cussed it good-naturedly for not being cool. Johnny listened in admiration. You sure can cuss good, Dally. Sure can, Dally agreed wholeheartedly, proud of his vocabulary. But don't you kids get picking up my bad habits. He gave me a hard rub on the head. Kid, I swear it don't look like you with all your hair cut off. You used to look tough. You and Soda had the coolest looking hair in town. I know, I said sourly. I look lousy, but don't rub it in. Y'all want something to eat or not? Johnny and I leaped up. You better believe it. Gee, Johnny said wistfully. Sure will be good to get in the car again. Well, Dally drawled, I'll give you a ride for your money. Dally always did like to drive fast, as if he didn't care whether he got where he was going or not. But we came down the Red Dirt Road off J Mountain doing 85. I like fast driving, and Johnny was crazy about drag races, but we both got real green around the gills when Dally took a corner on 2 wheels with the brakes screaming. Maybe it was because we hadn't been in the car for so long. We stopped at Dairy Queen, and the first thing I got was a Pepsi. Johnny and I gorged on barbecue sandwiches and banana splits. Glory, Dallas said, amazed watching us gulp the stuff down. You didn't make like every mouthful's your last. I got plenty of money. Take it easy. Don't want you getting sick on me. And I thought I was hungry. Johnny merely ate faster. I didn't slow down until I got a headache. Hey, I didn't tell y'all something, Dally said, finishing his 3rd hamburger. Socialists and us are having all-out war for all of the city. That kid you killed had plenty of friends. And all over town is social against grease. We can't walk alone at all. I started carrying a heater. Dally, I said frightened. You kill people with heaters. Yeah, you kill them with switchblades too, don't you, kid? Dally said in a hard voice. Johnny gulped. Don't worry, Dally went on. It ain't loaded. I ain't aiming to get picked up for murder, but it sure does help a bluff. Tim Shepard's gang and our outfit are having it out with the socialists tomorrow night at the vacant lot. We got to hold the president of one of their social clubs and have a war council. Yeah, Dally sighed, and I knew he was remembering New York. Just like the good old days. If they win, things go on as usual. But if we do, they stay out of our territory for good. Two Big got jumped a few days ago. Derry and me came along in time, but he wasn't having too much trouble. Two Big's a good old fighter. Hey, I didn't tell you. We got us a spy. A spy? Johnny looked up from his banana split. Who? You know that good-looking broad I tried to pick up the other night you killed the associate. The redhead. Terry, what's her name? Oh, no, you didn't, Dally. Cherry Valance, are you kidding me? A spy? Are you seriously going to trust Cherry Valance right now? What do you guys think? Seriously. Cherry Valance, the same girl that says, oh, Pony Boy, you're dreamy. I love you and all that. Tell me about Soda and Gary. And then all of a sudden, we see her turn her back and say, oh, by the way, if I see you in school or something, I'm not going to say hi or anything, but see you later. Bye-bye. Yeah. Sprechen sie two-faced? I don't know. Do you think she's two-faced? I don't know. We'll have to read chapter 6, which, by the way, is a game-changing, pivotal chapter. Until then, peace out.